You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. We have the simulated season. We're going to get into that here in moments because there's lots I want to talk about with that. But let's talk about the one big thing on the plate in real life, and that is, will baseball start without fans and get going again? Now, we touched on this last week. There's been more that's come out recently about it. So let me just kind of review everything that's happened over the last week, Dave, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Major League Baseball has proposed basically two plans. One is stick everybody out in the middle of the desert in Arizona, have people share facilities, keep them all quarantined there, and just go with it in one location. Now it seems like the teams, from what I'm reading between the lines, they don't like that. The ones that are normally based in Florida for spring training. So now they're talking about the idea of two different leagues. One that's in Arizona, one that's in Florida, and they would realign the divisions based upon how close you are to each other. So the White Sox would be in a division, theoretically, with the Los Angeles Dodgers as they share a facility with them. And I was looking at the teams that they play against, and it becomes the most difficult division out of all six that the White Sox will play in. They have surrounded themselves in terms of geographically with some of the best teams in Major League Baseball out in Arizona. The thing is, though, about this entire plan is, I don't see how baseball is able to go forward with this currently and be able to get players who make millions of dollars or are set financially. Not everybody needs every little dollar. And they have wives, or they're expecting children, or they have family responsibilities, and they say, nope, I will give up part of my salary under my contract. You can't make me go play while this pandemic is still going on. And I think they'll lose 10 to 15% easily of Major League Baseball players. Zach Wheeler, who was a target of the White Sox, remember he took less money because his fiance, now wife, didn't want to go to Chicago. So the money didn't matter to her as much as location, because, $120 million and $110 million is pretty much the same to the Instagram model that he married. And that's fine. I get that. A lot of people would feel that way. He's already come out and said, not going to happen. I'm not going down there and playing and being separated from her and the rest of my family. He's got a baby already that he's expecting. We've had two White Sox players that have come out already. James McCann saying, quote, it would be a recipe for disaster to try to start baseball too quickly. And Steve Cishek, one of our new relief pitchers who's playing well in the simulated thing, and he said, I don't think I could play a season quarantined for my family. Not going to happen.
The high-paying guys, by and large, I would imagine, are not going to go for it. They're not going to go for it because, as you said, first of all, they're set financially, number one. Number two, a lot of these guys are kind of set in life, meaning they have houses, kids, they have houses, wife, kids, that they don't want to leave for 3, 4, 5 months at a time to be in quarantine. The top guys are going to have the high paying guys are going to have more pull than, your league minimum guys who are maybe just getting started. Maybe it's their first, maybe it's their rookie year, second year, something like that. Guys who actually need the paycheck. I would think those guys are going to have less pull in the Players Association and with the individual teams than the top guys do. So I agree with you. I think you'll probably lose more than 10 to 15% of, well, I guess you're talking 10 to 15% of the entire team. I guess that makes sense. But I mean, a lot of those top tier guys that, that people would go, well, nobody's going to the ballpark to see them, but they would turn on their TV sets or turn on their streaming apps to watch these guys play. I don't necessarily know if you're going to see a lot of those guys if they go through with this.
You're going to have a situation where you're going to have the minor league guys want to play because it's an opportunity. They're going to expand rosters. You're going to see a lower level of talent. You're going to have basically 4A baseball, where you're going to have major leaguers mixed in with minor leaguers that probably don't belong in the majors, and some of your star power missing. And that's the product that you'll see if they go back and they play. That's what I believe will happen.
Has the Players Association come out and made a statement about what they feel about this? Because I did not hear that. I heard the part about how they're going to split it into, like a cactus league and a grapefruit league or whatever the hell they're going to do as far as Florida and Arizona. I heard that part. I haven't heard what the Players Association has said about this, if anything.
Well, the way that I'm understanding is this is a negotiation between the Players Association and Major League Baseball, but that doesn't mean the members are totally in on what's going on with the union. You're going to have the way all unions work is you're going to have a union that's going to be called to the table by management, and they're going to start negotiating the idea, but then they have to bring it back to their members. And what you're hearing now are members saying, look, when you bring this back to me, what I'm hearing, I'm not voting for this, or I'm not playing. And so that's the thing. There isn't an official thing from the union because all they're going to do is sit down and say, let's work out a plan and talk with their members. They're not going to come out with something until they know what the plan is, and they're trying to convince players to get on board.
Do the players have an option? Like, do they have can they even opt out of this? I mean, I would imagine they can, right? They would just forfeit their salary.
I'm pretty sure that there's no way you can force people to come back to work during this. I think that you would have, look, I was having this conversation the other day with somebody, and I am fully convinced that the amount of lawyers must be licking their chops because we are in a pandemic and you do have to do the responsible thing. But this isn't communist China, okay? There are civil liberties that are being taken away left and right here, and when the dust settles, people are getting sued everywhere. Like the Pennsylvania cop that gave the girl $1,000 fine for driving down the road with their windows up and nobody else in the car, and he fined her for driving down the road where she's not a danger to anybody. They're going to get sued, that police department, okay? I mean, like there are different stories that you read about what's going on right now. And yes, the right thing to do is, A, B, and C, but technically under the law, there are certain things that people are doing that they can't do. You can't force these guys to go into a situation if they feel it to be unsafe.
And Chris, here's the thing though, to reply to that kind of thing is happening all over the place, not just in baseball, but companies are forcing their employees to go to work over this. And they're saying, if you don't go to work, you're fired.
Right.
We don't care if it's a pandemic.
Right.
Here's a bottle of Lysol. Here's some Clorox wipes. Come into work as if nothing is going on.
We brought them up before. WWE, a small pool of wrestlers, but they already have COVID-19 now in their ranks. That's been confirmed. And even with that small group and trying to isolate them, some of their performers have now tested positive. So Major League Baseball players are going to point to that and say, and now you want me to go stand around with all these other players and all these other people that work for baseball and everything else like that. And you're going to have the guys that make too much money and are going to say, no, make me. And if they try to make them, those guys have enough money to go get the best lawyers to recover anything that's taken away from them. Or if a contract is nullified, there's going to be massive ripple effect. So I believe that in the end, whatever agreement happens, there'll be a clause where, hey, if you don't want to play, you won't get paid. And you're going to have guys that are going to say, fine, don't pay me. I'll be fine with that. And that's how this will end up shaking out. I think you're going to have like a 4A baseball season with weird alignments so that the owners can make enough money. Because look at and I'll go back to the WWE thing. Just this past week, Vince McMahon, who had to fold the XFL, had to go back to live television, even though it was safer for him to tape things in segments to keep his wrestlers separated. He did that because all of his TV contracts can be voided if he has too many taped shows. Money talked, and somebody called up to him and told him, you got to be live or we're voiding your contract. And the reason for that is the advertising money is gone. Across the board, all sports listening, all sports talk, sports podcasts, sports blogs, everybody's numbers are down. It's something that I've taken a look at. I've looked at what's going. I mean, the simulated season has been the thing that keeps Sox in the Basement afloat. And I know that. I mean, doing it has been we've been very fortunate. People love listening to the simulated games and it's actually rising. But when I talk to people in radio, everything's going down. And the reason that it's going down is because people have changed not only what their listening habits are, but there's nothing actually live to listen to. Advertisers, half of them are out of business, so they can't pay the bills that they already had, and they're not actually looking to advertise anymore. So the revenue stream is down. So now these networks, they're sitting there saying, we can't pay our own employees because we're not bringing in any money. So why are we going to pay you guys your money because you're not providing us a sport right now? And so Major League Baseball is like, oh no. And this whole thing is about money and the trickle-down effect of what's going on around Major League Baseball. So the MLB wants to get back to work, but they can't.
Couple of things. So one thing you have to remember about the Vince McMahon deal with WWE, Fox just recently paid billions of dollars to start running SmackDown Live on Friday nights. It was always on the USA Network, but Fox bought it for like $2 billion. And this was only maybe 6 months ago. So yeah, they're gonna want their live shows. So but you are right, because people are watching and reading too on the internet and listening less and less to do with sports because there ain't nothing going on. What everybody's paying attention to now are local news, national news, and Tiger King.
And their own families.
And their own families. Yeah, and I miss this Tiger thing. I don't get. I don't get it. It's about a bisexual meth head tiger trainer.
Man, I'm glad you said trainer there, because I was like, what? What kind of tiger?
And everybody on the internet hates somebody named Carol Baskin. I don't get it. I'm pass.
Foundation issues not properly handled can be costly. Family Waterproofing Solutions is owned by Ken, a veteran of the United States Marines, and his wife Maria, making them a veteran-owned business and a female-owned business that will diagnose and repair wet or leaky basements. And while they're located on the Sac side, Family Waterproofing services the entire Chicagoland area and Northwest Indiana. And now, after taking time off to ensure they can do things safely and securely for you, Family Waterproofing is back in business and doing jobs. Plus, part of the proceeds for every job that they do are donated to veteran and first responder organizations who support our frontline defenders. And currently, Sox in the Basement listeners have access to special pricing when they contact Family Waterproofing Solutions now, 708-330-4466, or visit them today at FamilyBasementWaterproofing.com. All right, let's get into the simulated season, okay? Without giving away the results of today's game, I will be able to tell you this, that over the last 12 games, the White Sox are playing .500 ball in our simulated season. Now, these games come out each and every day on the Sox in the Basement podcast feed. So if you have Sox in the Basement, you're listening to it anywhere podcasts can be found, and always at SoxInTheBasement.com. You get a new game when you wake up in the morning. It's about 90 minutes. It's got every pitch in it. We've been doing it since opening day. We're being covered by Sox on 35th, the world famous blog. And so they do like the post game, and they put stats up, and they kind of give you the box scores and everything else for you to look through. So it's a full interactive experience as we simulate the season as it should have been. And after the Sox got off to a hot start, over the last 12 games, they're 6-6. Their big problem, and I'm going to break down the stats for you, is not hitting. So let me give you some of these rankings and these numbers here, Dave, and then you can tell me what you think. Across the league, and I'm talking MLB, not National League and American League, but all of MLB, the White Sox currently have a .277 team batting average, which is fourth in baseball in the simulation, led by Tim Anderson hitting .342, Moncada hitting .313, and Leury Garcia hitting .304, okay? And if I'm not mistaken, Abreu is just off that pace, and so is Eloy Jimenez, who has broken out of his slump over the last week and is now hitting about .280. All right, so as I scroll through things, they are fifth in the majors with 99 total runs scored. So they're also there. They are second in the majors with 42 doubles. So they're hitting the ball deep into the gaps, and I've noticed that a lot. And they are fourth in the majors with 29 total home runs, with Jimenez still leading the team with 6. Abreu and Encarnacion each have 5. So stolen bases as well. They're fourth in stolen bases. Luis Robert has 9 and Tim Anderson has 8. So they have 19 total and 17 of them between those two players. So that is the other thing that they have going on for them. So the White Sox are getting hits. They're scoring runs. They're second in slugging overall with a 0.489 slugging percentage. So they have all these things going for them when it comes to offense. When I turn around and I look at their defense, while they do not lead the league in errors, I, watching the games, have decided that not everything is an error. That should be an error. Nomar Mazara is a clown show in right field. There's no other way. He had a play that I just watched that had me screaming at a baseball simulation where he runs over for a routine fly in a pivotal situation. He puts his glove up. He actually slows down the little simulated character, puts his glove up, and the ball lands 2 feet behind him. I was like, how is that even programmed into the system? And it didn't go as an error for some strange reason. And the other thing is that Leury Garcia has played good defense at every other position except second base, which is where he would have started the season. According to the game, he has 3 errors there. I have counted 6. He had a bases loaded situation with 1 out, trying to prevent a run from scoring. He gets a tailor-made double play, and the game actually had him double pump the home plate, turn the second, and drop the ball as it rolled. And I was like, how does the game program that either? It's like I'm screaming. I'm like, what is that? All you have to do is flip it, and then it's a double play, and we're out of inning. Like, I was just like, I'm so aggravated watching these games. I was like, Erica afterwards was like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, Leury Garcia just sucks at second base. So defensively, there's lots of problems. Okay, that's been kind of a thing. Like, I've noticed that of the 6 losses they've had in the last 12 games, you can account at least 2, maybe 3, specifically to defensive errors at bad times. And the main offenders have been Nomar Mazara and Leury Garcia when he's at second base. So that's been kind of a crazy thing. And then pitching wise, Dallas Keuchel has been a stud, but Lucas Giolito not really performing as well as that I thought he was going to end up performing. Dylan Cease is up and down. He had a game on Friday night against the Minnesota Twins where he was perfect through 3 and through 7 shutout innings. And then the next time that he comes out, he is getting in trouble every other inning. Every other inning, he's got guys all over the base paths. So he's like up and down, and that's kind of weird. Gio Gonzalez continues to be a veteran pitcher and gets stronger in every game as he goes through it, but he's basically a 6-inning pitcher. We've only had 2 pitchers actually pitch through 7 innings from the starting role. Most of them are 5 or 6 innings before they have to be taken out. And the only guys that really seem to be able to go deep is Dallas Keuchel, and then the one time that Cease went deep. The bullpen is generally good, although Jimmy Cordero has started to show some holes, which makes sense. He was like lights out, and he's going through a bad stretch. I have had to do the thing that I said where Jace Fry can only be used like in the back end of an inning with 1 or 2 outs already, and then he's got a lefty hitter coming up, because if he goes for an entire inning, he can't do it. It just like the game understands he is a loogie, just cannot pitch a full inning and sucks against right-handed hitters. So there's some things that I've had to kind of adjust and look at, but they're bad in the late innings. They have a hard time coming back or winning a game in the late innings. They have a hard time in extra innings. And I don't know if that's just something with the game. And then they have really good hitting and very average to sub-average pitching right now, especially out of the starting rotation. So when you hear all of that, and you hear that they are over 500, let's say right now, I don't want to give away what happened in today's game, so they're 2 to 3 games above 500 right now. So what is your, if you hear that and you know that they're about 2 to 3 games out of first and 2 to 3 games over 500, would you be shocked at this point in the season if the real White Sox would have been at this point?
No, the record shows exactly where you would expect them to be. Maybe we would expect them to be a little better. But I mean, The Mazzara thing in right field is a little surprising because he was brought in for defense.
No, you see, that's the weird thing is that, like, there are some people that have said that defensively he can sometimes be below average. Like his arm is good, but there was a knock on him that he is not very fleet-footed out there, and he can't cover a lot of ground, and that Robert would have to cover the gaps. So I don't know if that's contributing to some of the mistakes he's making. I mean, he had the bad route to the ball in the one game, but he's also dropped the ball and he's muffed the ball that was coming out into the outfield on a 2-hop, and it went over his glove and rolled to the wall. So he's had 3 different errors that I've counted so far.
Leury Garcia having errors at second base is a little surprising because we know he can play second base.
Well, the game hates him at second base. It has him rated lower as a fielder in terms of his range, his ability to make plays, and his throwing arm. He's lower than Danny Mendick right now. Okay,
Interesting.
And that was the reason why we put Mendick in at second base, because of all the errors, but I put him at second just the other day because I was giving Moncada a day off, and Mendick has got a better arm, so I had Mendick playing third and put Garcia at second to give Moncada the day off, and Garcia immediately makes an error at second base. So he isn't even playing second base all the time, and when he gets in there, it's like I got to make my one error a game at second base. So it's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a strange thing.
I wonder, had this thing not come along and shut down spring training, I wonder if the White Sox would have actually gone out there and like picked up a guy, just somebody who's out there sitting on his couch right before the start of the season just to help fill in at second base. I remember reading something about how there was possibility of them doing that.
They were talking about it. I mean, that was something they were discussing. And the weird thing is, it seemed like they were not very warm on Nick Madrigal, who we've kept down in the minor leagues. But now under the situation that we're in, I keep wondering to myself, do I bring up Madrigal? Because there's 2 problems here on the simulated team. You got Yermin Mercedes, who's basically got no role. He's been a pinch hitter twice, maybe 3 times.
Right.
And that's it. Right. And he played 1 inning at catcher because it just had to work out that way with the guys that have been used up so far in a long game. So other than that, he's just basically taking up a spot. And so it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, after using this team now for several weeks and simulating it, it's very difficult for me to even justify his existence on the roster. And what we do need is we need either another outfielder or another infielder. And then Garcia moves to basically the other role as a backup in that other, because we need more versatility during games. I mean, there's just, and also for resting guys, the infielders and the outfielders will all start to lose energy, and you'll see guys have bad games. Tim Anderson had a terrible first game against the Royals the other day because his energy was all sapped because I hadn't been able to replace him in the lineup. So then I replace him in the lineup, he comes back then the next day and he's hitting the cover off the ball again. So I have to be able to substitute just like Ricky Renteria would have to substitute, and there's not enough guys to go around based upon the fact that you have 3 catchers. That's the thing that's kind of stuck out to me.
We have been saying service time be damned with Nick Madrigal from day one. Get him up here. Now he wasn't having a great spring training was the problem, and that gave the White Sox the excuse to keep him down there. But I mean, if it's a simulated game, I say just do it, man. Bring him up.
Well, at this point, Madrigal would be under another year of control, but he would go to arbitration a year earlier than if you kept him down there for another month. And I don't think the name of the game is arbitration with a guy like Nick Madrigal. I mean, let's be honest. Arbitration, basically we're talking money, but we're not talking control at this point. That's how the rule would go. He's been down there long enough that it'd be like Chris Bryant, where they kept him down for 7 days and they brought him up, and then he got all angry about it, and he tried that lawsuit or the grievance or whatever through the Players Association, and he lost it. So the White Sox in real life would be emboldened enough to understand that they could bring up Madrigal right now and have the control, and it would just be he'd get to arbitration a year earlier, which I am totally okay with in this instance. So, I mean, let's just take a look at him before we make the decision here. But I think today we're going to send Yermin Mercedes down, and we're going to look at Nick Madrigal. Okay. Now, Madrigal has been improving even the short time that we had him down in the minor leagues. I can tell you that right now, taking a look at what they're ranking him at this very moment. He has been improving while he's down there. The one thing that is surprising to me, and I might have to go in and change this, and we're going to have to talk about that as well. His plate discipline is considered to be very low for a guy that never strikes out. We need to adjust that before we send him up, because we know that he's much better plate discipline wise. And also, Danny Mendick is going to still be, at least at the beginning here, a better fielder than Madrigal slightly. And we've been told that he's a defensive whiz.
That does not make any sense at all.
No. So here's the thing. First of all, I think we call him up. Secondly, I think we make a slight adjustment to at least make him even with Mendick. I don't want to cheat the simulation, but every scout in the world has said that the guy is a whiz and could be a Gold Glover. I mean, we've been hearing that now for the last 3 years. He could come up and play right now when he was in single A, come up to the majors right now and win the Gold Glove at second base. And the game itself has not given him that. I'm fine with his hitting stuff. Like, whatever they have for his hitting, I will accept it. They have a formula to figure out if he's going to be good or bad at the plate. But defensively, I should be bringing in a guy that I know is going to be able to hold down second base without a problem. So my thing is, let's promote him. Let's adjust that to at least give him the same skills as Danny Mendick. I'm not even going to give him the Gold Glove skills that everybody says that he has. I just want to make him even to Mendick, who's the best second baseman that we currently have, and then bring him up and give him a chance to play every day and put him into our lineup, and we'll add Nick Madrigal to the roster. Are you good with that?
Totally good with that.
Okay. And then, meanwhile, Carson Fulmer refuses to have another bad game so I can drop him. Every time I bring him in, he's effective now. It's really annoying.
Nice.
I want to justify getting rid of him, but I can't. It's really, really frustrating. The other thing is that Kopech's going to come up soon. I figured that he was going to be a May call-up. I'm operating under the assumption that the White Sox would play games, keep him down in the minors to get that 1 year of control back. So we're talking like he might be a birthday present for me in early May where Kopech comes up. And right now, the weakest link of the three guys at the bottom of the rotation is Dylan Cease. Reynaldo had a Reynaldo game recently, so maybe things are changing. So we'll have to see how it goes over the next few weeks. But one of those guys is going into the bullpen, and Kopech's going to come in and pitch. We could also consider, if they're both doing well, Kopech comes up and starts as a long reliever and gets to kind of get himself going, and we wait and let the game improve him a little bit. And the White Sox could do that. Don Cooper has said in interviews that, you know, the bullpen is a big way of getting yourself right and also getting yourself ready. Remember Chris Sale, they used him in the bullpen before they brought him in. So we'll have that'll be the next big decision I think we're going to have to make.
Okay.
I feel like this is an accurate representation of what a young team coming out of a rebuild would do. I never had the idea that they were going to jump out and be 6 games over 500 in mid-April. I didn't think that this was going to be like they're sweeping every series or winning 2 out of 3 and never losing a series. They've won almost every series that they've played in. They haven't swept anybody, and being 2 to 3 games over 500 at this point, that's what I thought they would do. They still have to learn how to play. They still have a rookie in Robert playing center field. They still have the possible sophomore slump of Eloy Jimenez, where you're going to have teams that are going to adjust to him. You still have guys that are fitting into the lineup, and a manager has to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And you've got young pitching in Cease and Lopez that is unproven. Neither one of those guys, the only reason we're giving Cease a pass is because Lopez has been up there longer, but both of them basically were doing the same thing, going out there and giving up 5 runs a game. So I'm not surprised. This is what I think the White Sox would have been. I'm actually not taken aback by the simulation at all. Although we do get comments now from people going, how are they only winning, X, Y, and Z?
God. Come on. Give me a break.
That's Dave. I'm Chris. This has been Sox in the Basement. We will talk to you again next week. And remember, simulated games each and every day at Sox in the Basement, found everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. 7 games over the next 7 days. They don't have a day off until a week from Sunday. So you got baseball every day, a radio broadcast from us. We will talk to you very soon. Our thanks to our sponsors, Cork and Carry at the Park. Remember to go to Grubhub or corkandcarryatthepark.com. And all you've got to do is click and order. Support a local business and eat some tasty ballpark food. I prefer doing it when I'm listening to a game. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Sox in the Basement. Sox in the basement. Socks in the basement.
Socks in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on socksinthebasement.com.